see what you can do to build awareness and empathy, to see what you can do about the issues you care about. And then really build that hope by seeing that feedback loop and feeling the difference that you make and knowing the difference that you make. And then expand that by inspiring others to join you or showing others that this is possible in their life. So it's all about mattering and making a difference.
Hey guys, welcome back to the new episode on Transformative Purpose. Today we're going to talk about the power of purpose. Extremely delighted. Joining me today is Karen Seymour. She is an impact-focused, results-driven leader, and she has spent 25 years building a career around social impact, financial services, wellness, media, supply chain, and philanthropy. Welcome, Karen. How are you doing today?
Hey, Aaron. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm really excited about our chat.
Likewise.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Do tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I've been in Hong Kong quite a while now, originally from Canada. I'm coming on to my 29th year here in Hong Kong, working really around the region. And even now our work is global and a lot of it remote. But I started off in, I guess, the financial services industry. And then I had a couple of startups and then moved back to the corporate multinational corporation world, and then went directly into a role that was extremely focused on purpose in community engagement and running a corporate foundation. All the while in all my roles over the years, and even starting probably from a pretty young person, really doing a lot in the community. So I guess I've always been quite service driven and community focused. And so, when the business world started latching on to purpose or starting to bring purpose into the business world, I was super excited because the business world, I love impact. I love the fact that business is here to make impact. But I love the fact now too, that there's such a strong focus on purpose, and I get to do that in my role at Human at Work. So with Human at Work, we work really closely with leaders and their teams and full organizations sometimes to help them craft strategy and really focused on a human experience at work. So my role specifically is really around purpose, helping leaders and teams to define their organizational purpose, their team's purpose, their role purpose for individuals within an organization, and then to activate that to really bring it to life every single day in an organization. And I think that's like an important key, is this making sure that purpose is really living and breathing within an organization and with everybody in the organization. So that's my role as a Chief Purpose Officer now.
I thought you got a very interesting title, Chief Purpose Officer. Not a lot of people have that title. Do you get a lot of questions when you meet people?
Yeah, in fact, it's not a very common title in Asia yet, but around the globe, there are more and more Chief Purpose Officers coming out in organizations. And I think it's, everybody always says, you've got the coolest title. I love, what do you actually do? It's a really cool, sounds like a really cool job. So, I guess the role is really a very strategic role in an organization. It's looking inward as well as outward. So helping an organization to not just define and align with their strategy, put the purpose right at the core of the strategy, but also to see, how that comes into play with all of the stakeholders in an organization and outside of an organization. So I think that's what a Chief Purpose Officer role is really about. It's also kind of galvanizing the C-suite and getting them, mobilized into action, as well as, bringing them together in a collaborative way. It's also working with all the different lines within a business. So making sure that the business is really focused on not just doing well, making profits, but also aligning with, how are we making a difference in the world? How are we being a force for good? And how are we actually solving problems that exist in society? And ideally, focusing that on the profits that we're making. So profitably aligning purpose so that, you have a successful long-term that's really focused on solving the grand challenges that we face in the world today.
Yeah, I tend to find people with interesting or creative job titles tend to be great conversation starter. Just a few weeks ago, I spoke to a gentleman and his title was Chief Happiness Officer.
Love that. Yeah.
Are you seeing a trend that you mentioned that, we're slightly behind in Asia, we're slightly behind the Western world, right? Are you seeing a trend that people are catching up onto sort of this happiness, people and culture space? And I was just wondering, I just want to pick on that, how is a chief purpose officer different to someone like a chief and people and culture officer? What would be the difference?
I think the focus on purpose is quite strategic, and it lives with everybody and all parts of the organization versus, somebody who's really focused on people and culture, which is, definitely more around internal people. I think chief purpose officer really bridges between the internal operations of an organization, the internal strategy, and then what's happening to make the impact in the world, and how is that coming to play. So, I think it's really important to share purpose very widely and make sure that it's well communicated inside an organization, outside of the organization. It draws the right people to your organization, whether to come and work for you or whether to partner with you. It shows customers too that, you're an organization that cares about more than just the bottom, more than just making money. So there's so many reasons why there's this, strong focus on purpose and why it's really important to an organization and to people in the organization or people who are affected by an organization, whether it's, customers, potential partners, the investors also are looking more and more to companies that are building the sustainable world that we live in and lifting people up and lifting up communities as well as communities so that, and regulators, so that organizations are on the right side of the regulators and that organizations are actually, doing things that the community benefits, because it's that's the kind of responsibility of a business, is to not take, but to hopefully give back and give back more than, more in the world and more to society.
Yeah, that's very well said. At least from my experiences, very often a lot of organizations have very nicely printed vision, mission, and values hung up on the wall, but it's quite rare that the employees actually live and breathe what the company believes in. So you touched on human experiences, bringing back the humanity back at work, right? Mm-hmm. So what does human experience look like for a good company? And where have you seen examples where you think companies are doing well in this area?
So I'd love to share what we see at Human at Work. And this has come from, I guess a lot of collective years of our team and a lot of, heart and passion to kind of make work a little bit different from how maybe a lot of us have experienced. I've been working for about 30 years now. So I love to work. I've loved everything I've done, and all the organizations I've been in and teams have been very lucky to have a great, but how can we make it better? And how can we make it, the best for the future for everybody involved? So, the human aspect comes from, first helping people to be human at work. So that means we call it the unlock, like unlocking people. So do I go to work and do I feel like I belong? Am I seen? Am I known, for my authentic human self? Can I really be myself at work when I walk through the door? I think through time, people, we used to put on our business suits and go to work and like change into this different persona. And I think now it's becoming more real and more tangible for people just to be themselves at work, right? We don't have to put on the suit that, the armor, actually, I could say, or the mask. We don't have to be a different person at work. We could just be ourselves, right? And then we can be honored for our unique strengths that we bring to our jobs and the passions that we have. How could we dig those out and apply those to the work that we do? And how meaningful would that be for me if I could do that every day of my job? And then we talk about unleashing people towards a higher purpose. So helping people see how they can contribute to an organization that is really trying to really, shout and show why they exist as an organization. So how do I contribute to that as an individual in an organization? So that's also bringing out that humanity, because we all have this innate drive to contribute and to give. It's actually in us as human beings. So we've got this, very hard focus on how do we bring that out at work for the best human experience, as well as, the best results and performance for people, for their teams, for their organizations, and then the best for society. And then that's all anchored around the strategy. So if people feel like they're unlocked, they can be themselves and they can belong, and then they're unleashed towards a higher purpose, and then collectively can come together to contribute. And then they know exactly what their role is in that, or what their part is in that, exactly what the strategy is. Then we call that, that's the formula for impact success. That's how you get to impact. And then we always want to put impact, there as the key focus. Let's think of the big impact we want to make in the world and then work backwards from that. So how do I contribute to that?
When I first entered the consulting world, it was back in the days, I'm talking about 10 years ago now, I was often told, fake it till you make it. Consultants are supposed to be the smartest person in the room. Just pretend that you know it, even though you might not have any experiences. It seems like the world has moved towards a different direction. You mentioned about unlocking and showing our real identity rather than, trying to be that person that you're not at work. And I think that's really profound. Last time we caught up our call, I heard from you that you're currently an empty nester. You have 2 kids and they're about to come home, right? So how do you teach your kids around finding your purpose? You mentioned, when you first entered the workforce, if I remember correctly, it was the financial services, right? A lot of young people, they spend so much time studying in colleges. They got a good degree. Now they're really eager to enter in the workforce, just to realize the workforce is not the way that they thought it is. Yeah. So how do you bring up this topic of finding your purpose with your children, and how do you encourage our listeners to tackle this topic with their children or with the people that they're coaching or mentoring?
I think that's such a great question, Aaron, because this is our future, right? And I just think, what if I was kind of tuned into this when I was much younger? Like, probably a richer, few decades I would have been having, just being a little bit more conscious of my place in the world and my place in mattering and making a difference. So, and how that I can do that through my work every single day, or at home with my family or with my friends or with the community. So I guess in terms of, teaching children, I think I call it like a purpose discovery. So let's just look at ourselves. When we're discovering our own purpose, I encourage people to look back at the patterns in their life. So, and from a child's point of view, or even an adult's point of view, like what brings us joy? And as children, like if we talk to our kids about this topic of purpose and start looking at them and seeing what they're doing and what is bringing them joy and what do they really care about, right? Are they the kids who are, kind of like, rescuing the bird with a broken wing and bringing it home and, Mom and Dad, we've got to help this bird to survive and fix its wing? Or are they the kids that are, so caring to other people? Are they the ones who love to go visit their grandparents and they really care a lot, about, baking them some cookies or something to take? Or like, what is it that brings them joy? And can you share that with your kids? Can you kind of point it out? Because to me, is all about awareness and then taking action. So we have to become more aware of ourselves, and we have to help other people to become more aware. So if we can help our kids to become more aware, share with them what we see in them and show them how they matter. So it's about the awareness, like, what do they like to do? What are they good at? What are they passionate about? And then helping them to take some action around that. So really supporting any actions that they're doing, really highlighting, shining a spotlight on some great stuff that they're doing and how that's mattering to other people, and really highlighting every little action of how they're mattering to people. So, you went to see your grandmother yesterday, and did you see how big the smile was? You were telling her jokes and making her laugh. And so, it's how does that make you feel? You might ask your child, like, did that, look at you, made grandma feel so good. How did that make you feel? And start helping your kids tune into that. So I think that's really powerful. And that's, I think you and I are here on this podcast and in the world that we've discovered, just maybe more recently than a lot of people, that we want to spread this, right? We want to bring this awareness to people and really help spread this movement around purpose as far and wide as we can. So let's start with this next generation and all the people in our lives, and highlight for the people around us, what we see in them and what we've noticed from them, and help them to tune in and be more conscious of themselves and what is innate to them. And then what do they see around them that is a cause or an issue that's important, and how might they be part of that solution?
Wow, that's beautiful. Kids are lucky to have you as their mom. I want to shift our focus a little bit. So you're currently working from home. Most of us are in this part of the world. Things are not back to normal yet. I if I could put it that way. Days are getting longer. Many of us getting zoomed out. We're on Zoom, on Teams call all day. The line between work and life is increasingly blurred. And we have all these words being thrown around, the Great Resignation, the hybrid paradox. Where is everything going, and what's your view on it?
Yeah, I think COVID has really helped to shine a light on what's important to all of us, and it's helping us to really start reflecting more and start thinking carefully about, what is our place in the world, what is important to us, and where do we want to put our focus and our time and our energy. So I love the way Arianna Huffington put it. She didn't call it the Great Resignation. She calls it the Great Reevaluation. So it's really a time where we have a little bit more, more focus on ourselves. And because we're not commuting, we're not in this busy life, like even, right now in Hong Kong, we can't even really go out a lot. So we have a lot more time and space to start thinking. And then I heard from, one of your other guests on your podcast, I think it was Emery Fung. He talked about, I see this in my own kids and I see this in other kids. It's like by the time young people these days are even finished school and they haven't even started their first job, they're burnt out. So, there's this place that we're at right now in our world where, individuals, people young and old, we're burnt out. We've been working really hard. We've been working in a bit of a hamster wheel, just kind of going fast and going hard. And it's time to, to really reflect and reevaluate, like what's important to us? Where are we deriving meaning? What do we really want to do in the world? How do we really want to show up every day and make a difference? And, whether it's hybrid work, whether it's at home or at the office, how are we getting to that impact? So does it really matter if we're sitting in an office or punching the clock from 9 to 5? Or can we just get everybody a little bit more focused on the results and the outcomes and the impact that we're making, and build trust that people are going to get their job done somehow, some way, but let them do it, right? Just give them some faith and some trust and let people do it and give them more flexibility. I think the hybrid work gives us all a lot more options, more flexibility, and if we focus then on this, impact we want to make and how are we going to get there, and then what are we doing specifically to get there, and just be really focused around that, then, why not work from anywhere? Why not, get together and get the energy from people when it makes sense, when it's safe, or when we can, but also why not give people those options to have a life and work in a way that works best for them? I think it's incredible and it's super powerful. Because when my kids were young, I was in the office traveling like crazy. I feel like I didn't see my eldest son much for the first year of his life. And that's when I started to reevaluate. And I actually had to I did a major shift not long after that to startup world, where I had more control and entrepreneurialism, where I had to, I had the ability to control my own time, my own schedule, how I worked, when I worked. So I think that's where we are now. And I think it's great.
I forgot where I read it recently. I think every time we decide to travel, we are accruing a parental debt. I don't know if you heard this saying before.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Another thing I want to ask you, and because our theme is about the power of purpose, right? How can somebody find their purpose, and how does someone know they've got it? They've got the purpose.
Yeah. So
is it a static thing? Once I've got it, it doesn't change, or is it a progressive thing? So I just want to hear your thought.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Yeah, to me, it's a wiggly line of discovery through life. So I really think that it's not, one thing that you find and you suddenly that's it forever. I do think there are some general themes that can be discovered through life, and kind of, I believe I've got kind of like a bunch of steps to finding your purpose. But, the first one is to reflect. So to really, think and discover more about yourself. So what do you love? What are you great at? What can you bring to the world that's unique to you? What did you love? Again, what kind of sparked your curiosity and your interest all through life as a child and now as an adult? Like, what are those things that really light you up? And if everybody, it did that alone, just found the things that lights them up and brings that to the world, whether it's your work or your daily life, how amazing would the world be, if everyone's kind of walking around and acting in a way that's, exciting to them every day. I mean, I think that's the start of it, is the reflection. And then you kind of define and you start trying to nail it down, whether you're, and same with the company, whether you're an individual or a company, like finding their purpose or discovering the purpose, start kind of drafting it and defining it and aligning it with everything that's going on in your life. And then I do believe that you keep revisiting it. Like, it's pretty solid. You're going to find that it's something will stick most likely, but you might shift it a little bit depending on where you are in your life and some new experiences that you have or some new wisdom that you've gained, etc. And then I encourage people to do. So to take a lot of action and impact others and really see how you're actually mattering to people and how you're making a difference. And that's the feedback loop that everybody needs to then go, oh my gosh, like I've spent some time reflecting. I think I've kind of landed on, what I bring to the world, what I bring to my job, what I can really contribute, and then start doing things to kind of test it and see, what's really lighting you up and what's really sticking and working, and then scale it and use your influence to help others and help others discover their purpose, help, make it bigger, take it to the world, what your unique purpose is, and then do more of it. So get to scale so that you're actually really advocating, you're helping others, as well as you're just bringing that big, bold impact to the world to really make that difference. So, and it starts with little things too. Dr. Jane Goodall put it really well. She said, and especially these days, it's overwhelming, everything that's happening in the world. There's massive problems in the world, and we could let them bury us. We could think about them every single day and worry and be a little bit paralyzed by them. And, if we are, sometimes it's okay because we're humans, right? We're not robots, but we are humans and we can have these feelings. But I'll just read this quote because I love it so much. You not be depressed. If you look around at the problems of the world, don't think globally and act locally, but act locally first. So really tune into what's happening right where you live and right where you are and see what you can do to build awareness and empathy, to see what you can do about the issues you care about, and then do something, and then really build that hope by seeing that feedback loop and feeling the difference that you make and knowing the difference that you make, and then expand that by inspiring others to join you or showing others that this is possible in their life. So it's all about mattering and making a difference.
Love all these quotes that you are pulling out, the great reevaluation, and this one you just shared. Definitely, there's a lot of things going on in our world at the moment, and I think there are certain things that even I find it hard to explain to kids. I just want to share a little story. So about a couple of years back, I noticed that my main source of negativity comes from media. And that's one of the things I think we've spoken about. The world I think there needs to be better metrics in terms of how people write and how people speak and whether they are communicating with positive impact, because it seems that a lot of the contents out there really aim at stopping or capturing eyeballs rather than trying to deliver a solution or trying to deliver hope. So that's what I realized a couple of years ago when this whole social unrest began. I saw all these headline news, and after a while I realized that I got really depressed because I can't believe what I saw. I can't believe this happened to another human being, and I just stopped following news for about a couple of years now. And to me, it's one of the best decisions I've made in the past couple of years, because I realized that I can spend that time doing something that I love. I can spend that time recording podcasts. I can spend that time meeting interesting people like yourself and here, amplifying positivity and positive noises that people should be hearing, and not the other way around. What do you think?
I agree 100%. And I love how, you made that conscious decision. I have a friend years and years ago, he moved from Hong Kong to New York, and he did the same. He didn't even buy a TV. So instead of getting news pushed at him, he pulls what he wants to see, right? And I use that strategy too. I try not to get, drawn in too much by just stuff coming at you, that bad media diet, that's the toxic media diet, just like, being conscious of the food that we're eating, like what is going into our brain, as you said, and where's the positive, where's the ideas around, the world is abundant, and we can, be a part of the solution, and we can find ways to make a difference and to bring more energy that's positive to the world and not just get sucked into that whole negative feedback loop. But and it's, again, I think it's just the consciousness, being really aware and taking the right kind of actions around that. It's hard. We're not, it's not perfect, but I agree 100%. It's essential.
I think
we only have so many hours in a we only have so many hours in a day, right, to do things. So where are we putting our time and our energy?
Yeah, exactly right. I'm trying to learn to coexist with the virus now. Need to learn how to coexist with a lot of negativity around. We touched on personal purpose earlier, and a lot of organizations also have their own purpose. So what happens if there's a misalignment or if there's a disconnect between your organization's purpose and your own personal purpose? What should people do about it?
Well, I firmly believe that everybody should be a purpose ambassador. So, I think, why not just start tuning into what you can do every day at your job? If there is a purpose in the organization, have you really explored your part in that as an individual? Could you potentially spark some change inside? So could you bring some people together to start exploring these ideas around how can we really make a difference in our roles every single day? Could you talk to your teams, your leaders? Could you question, the CEO during a town hall and, in a way that is, just trying to be curious about, I hear about our purpose and I'd love to hear some more examples, or, can you mentor or coach others? So again, if I'm the kind of person, I'm quite positive. I love people. I'm extroverted. I love the energy of people. So, if you're also that kind of a person, then could you coach other people and share with them what you're seeing and what you're feeling about, making a difference and how you can matter and how they can matter. So I think the worst thing we could do is just wait for things to get pushed down to us. It's like, oh, we've got this purpose statement, but nobody's doing anything about it. And I don't see the leaders leading it. And, but why not just flip that and say, okay, fair enough. But what can I do about it? How can I raise it to people's attention? How can I start, walking that talk also and doing what I can in my own power, in my own control to do something about it. And I'll bet you anything, it's a world where there's a lot of firefighting being done every day. There's a lot of changes happening that are affecting organizations. There's a lot of volatility. So in that world, we all need some more focus on a North Star, and an organization needs that to center the decisions, to help rally people, to come together to contribute. So if it's being highlighted by the people have a voice within an organization and they're saying, hey, we really want to do more. I want to act more. I want to understand better what my part is in this. Then, and how can we do that? So then again, the leader too, just bring it to the attention of your leaders. Or if you're a leader, start exploring what you're going to do with your own team and with your own role and how are you going to influence up and down. So I guess the key message is that we all have more power than we think we do. So let's start using that power. Let's start shining the light, bringing that awareness and that action to our organizations. There's a great example of somebody I met here in Hong Kong, and she did just that. She approached me at an event a couple of years ago and said, globally, there's a lot happening in terms of purpose at our organization, and I'd love to try to get more action in Asia Pacific. And so she did. She created a speaker series. We had hundreds of people, on their lunchtime joining webinars about purpose. She started to meet with the senior leaders of different business units to talk about how they were going to build this into their strategies and their business plans. So again, we don't need to be the CEO. It's great if it's led at the CEO level in the C-suite, because that's where it accelerates and happens and sticks the most. However, we can start shining that light.
That was really profound. And I love how you mentioned there's almost like a fundamental shift in how we think and also in our mindset. Some people come to work and they have this taker attitude, or they have this taker mindset, thinking, oh, I'm not getting what I want from companies. But what you're really saying is that we could also be a giver. We could flip that switch and say, this is not happening at my work, but what can I do? What can I give back to the company to help influence that culture?
Exactly. Because culture lives with the people, right? Culture is, the values and the behaviors that are lived out in the people of an organization. So people are the culture. So it's like we can influence the culture, right? We can influence those actions in our organization by, rallying other people, by taking our own action, et cetera. Like there's so many ways. And you know what? If people are getting frustrated or they really want something different or something more, or even if you're a younger person or somebody in a career transition, make sure you're looking out for it. So make sure you're talking to any potential new teams or leaders that you might want to join about what's important to you. Is there values alignment? Do they have a purpose? Is the purpose being lived out every day in the organization, in the business unit that you might explore joining? Are you seeing it on the website? Are you hearing about it when they're recruiting or when they're in the job descriptions? Is it really living and breathing every single day and operationalized within the organization? And if it's not, then hey, maybe that's not the right organization for you or the right leader for you. And you need to find that alignment also and take action and responsibility to find that for yourself. Don't just wait for it to happen to you, but go out and get it. There's enough organizations and people out there who are really making this happen or who might be more closely aligned with your values. So if you're not getting it and you're not able to influence inside, then, see what else is happening. And that's one of the powers of purpose. A big power of purpose is the people in an organization that stay or that join. And that's a massive performance enhancer and massive cost savings if you're keeping people, if you're retaining people, because you are helping them contribute meaningfully and you are pointing them, to the purpose and what their role is in that. That's a massive amount of cost savings. I think it's something like 8 trillion globally in a year, that is lost by people leaving organizations. And, so it's super powerful to just look at it from that employee lens alone, let alone, what purpose does for an organization in terms of building customer stickiness or, enhancing the reputation in your industry or in your community, getting more investment into an organization, potentially from those aligned investors who want to align with organizations that are going to be around probably for the longer run because they're focusing on more than just and doing the right thing for society. So I think there's a lot of wins there if we can really, help to make it happen.
Very insightful. I think the definition of shareholders has changed. It used to be just measured on the financial gains, but I think every citizen on this planet is now our shareholder, not just the one who's holding the piece of paper.
Exactly. It's all about, it's the stakeholder. Capitalism is not about just shareholders anymore. It's about all the stakeholders. It's exactly it. We've got to look at everybody that a business affects.
Yeah. One last thing, just before we wrap up, it's been super interesting for you, all of your wisdom that you've shared on this call. If there's one thing companies, leaders, and managers, or even individuals can do differently to help make our purpose viral, what do you think that thing could be? What's that one thing that people should just go back to?
I think the one thing that people should do is to commit to taking some action. So let's say 2 things. Okay. Commit to being more aware of your own purpose and your role in kind of facilitating purpose around you or your role in, mattering to other people in the world, and then taking action. So awareness and action. It's 2 things. And committing, just do something. That's the little drop that leads to the ripple, that leads to the big wave of powerful change. And that's what we need in the world. The world needs you. It needs everybody right now, to start making those small changes. And there's it's like one small change every single day or one small action has a massive, it's like a 37.7 times impact after 365 days. So there's a little formula there.
That's from James Clear, Atomic Habits.
Exactly, right? And it's true. Like it doesn't have to be a massive action transformation from one person. Like nobody can be expected to do that, but you can do small things every single day and make a difference.
Well, thank you so much for throwing in a freebie there. Instead of one thing, you gave us two things. and and act to manifest, also speak to manifest. I think that's also what you were saying, right? No action is too small. Anything, even as little as a small act can ripple and can have a rippling effect onto a lot of different other people beyond your imagination.
Exactly.
Hey, Karen, I want to thank you so much for coming on to our podcast today to speak about the power of purpose. It's my pleasure to have you. And thank you so much again. I hope you're keeping well. And do say hi to the kids for me when they make their way back to Hong Kong.
Oh, thanks so much, Aaron. And thanks so much for also, in your podcast opener, you talked about the, spreading dopamine, inspiration, knowledge, and actions. And that's exactly, what we talk about with purpose too. So it brings out those amazing, wonderful brain chemicals that make us feel great when we're serving and when we're contributing. And then, all of these talks that you're doing bring so much inspiration and knowledge to people, and then, help spur people onto action. So thank you so much for this and for bringing this to the world.
Pleasure was mine. I hope you stay safe and take care. I'll speak to you again soon.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron. Thank you so much.